numbers, right, for COVID. The good news, remember, is even if we do get into a dismissal, as we've seen with Ridgeline, they go right away from that into a dismissal, but they come right back. Does that make sense? Whereas most of the districts in the state, when they do a 2-week dismissal, when they come back, it's still like a hybrid non-thing. Does that make sense? Like, again, Selena, I look at Roy High, okay? So, you know, Coach McClure knows this too, but they went into dismissal at the end of their football season, and when they came back, like the other Weber School District schools as well, they went into more online, if that makes sense. So it was like, hey, you're dismissed, but then you're really still in a weird dismissal state. You might come back in every now and then for classes. We know from Ridgeline's case that they will be coming back. Here's the tricky part with the numbers, and I did promise a point for that astute question. Where are we at with cases? If I were to, for 5 months, I have 3 children, right? I think I mentioned that before. And, you know, Grace, if I were to say for 3 or 5 months to my 3 kids, all right, I'm not going to check your bedrooms. I'm not going to check your bedrooms. And I'm just going to have you report into me at the end of each day if your room is clean. Does that sound like a good parent move there?
Yes.
I mean, at one angle, you're like, yeah, I don't want my parents checking my room. But I think as Emerson and Tess are saying, like, that's probably a bad parent move, right? Like, the idea of not checking. I get their word of mouth, I get their report, right? But I don't know actually how the room is doing. That's a case for us in the first trimester of the school because there's no mandatory testing. Now on, I think it was Tuesday, right? The teams had mandatory testing for the athletics. With that happening, it's like after 5 months, the parent going in the room and being like, ooh, is it likely that the rooms are clean? Maybe, but probably not. Meaning, students are going to have viral loads in their systems, even though that they're not being affected. Does that make sense? Like, as teenagers, you might not actually feel the effects of it, right? You're like, yeah, it's fine. My viral load is so low and so minuscule that I'm not going to be affected by it. But with the testing happening, is it every 2 weeks now? Is that right?
Yeah.
Every 14 days? I mean, you guys do the numbers, right? Like, it's, if there's mandatory testing every 2 weeks of active extracurricular students, you guys get what I'm saying? Like, that it's probably doesn't look great in terms of just from those numbers, because you're checking now, right? They have not updated it officially. We were at 6 on Monday before the actual testing happened. And I know, like, grapevine rumors happen of like, well, we heard there were 6 on the rest of the team, and then there were 6 on the, you know, all those things. You know, unofficially I heard 12. You know, we went from 6 and we went down and we back up to 12. But for all I know, I mean, they haven't confirmed anything. But don't fret over those numbers in the sense that just mentally prepare yourselves that, like, it's probably likely that the school's going to be in dismissal at some point, just with the number of tests. Does that make sense? And I don't want to, like, I don't know, destroy people's dreams, or especially athletes here. Like, well, wait, don't tell me that. Like, but I'm just trying to help you guys mentally be ready that it's just the numbers are not in our favor, right? Because you're just testing more regularly. But at least the good news is, even if we do go in dismissal, we'll come right back. So that's where we're at. I mean, unofficially I heard 12, right, after the tests. But those are unofficial numbers. Any questions on that? Does that help answer that at least? Any other questions there? Good luck with boys basketball today, but it's at Bonneville?
No, it's at home.
Oh, it's at home, but is it against?
It's against Roy.
Oh, jeez. I was seeing some Bonneville game.
That's girls. Girls played Bonneville yesterday at Bonneville.
Okay, how did that go, dude?
No clue.
Everyone was 56-1 and sophomore won.
Okay, but so is it just sophomore JV varsity?
They didn't have a freshman team yesterday.
Oh, but there is a freshman team.
Yeah, the freshman just didn't.
Got it. Okay. One over here. So very nice. As you guys can see, I will give points to the class in terms of, yeah, like extracurriculars. Let me know how it goes. And, you know, if Connor goes off and scores 80 points, you know.
80 points.
then I don't know about that, but I'll give you guys some points. If swim does really well, or if cheer does well at a certain competition, well, I don't know if they're doing a competition.
I think if one
Not
of us
this year.
drops 80, it's just an automatic win. for the extracurricular.
Just erase all the points,
Because
automatically goes to
that'd be a
second.
school record by far. So.
That would actually be pretty cool. I don't know if it's an automatic win, but yes, a lot of points. I'll give points for those, for extracurricular things. So that's good to know. The varsity won. Thank you for that update. Do we have any girls basketball team members? Okay, so Sadie, there you go. That's why she's in the know. So yeah, keep me updated on how things go, especially with not being able to go to the events. I probably won't be as up to date on how they do. So please, let me know on that. And good luck today for the boys basketball team. Are there any other extracurriculars doing anything this weekend? Yeah.
Swim team had a meet yesterday.
That's right. I saw. So it's both boys and girls?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Girls won, boys no.
Well, hey, you will vicariously get points because you're associated with the girls on the team. But also, was it just a duel, like between you and
Yeah,
another
it was
school?
us and Box Elder.
Okay. What gym or what pool did you guys go to?
Somewhere by Box Elder.
Okay, it wasn't like Mountain Crest
Yeah,
or
no.
anything. Okay, all right. Good on the girls, and being against a 5A school, maybe that's a little bit more difficult too for the guys. I don't know. Is it? And Tyler, give it to me straight, like I'm asking a doctor. Is it a matter? Are the girls competitively versus the rest of the Valley members superior than the boys, or is it pretty comparable? Is it just similar?
I'm not sure. Our girls are really good,
Okay.
but our boys are,
Because a couple years ago they won
Yeah.
region, if I remember right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But our boys aren't quite,
Okay.
well, no. Our boys are about the same, but the other team's boys are better.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to get at, right? Like, where in the field of competitors, like a girl's really good, but sometimes and I don't know if this is how it is for boys and girls basketball, if there's behemoths in the state within our own region that you go up against, and one team looks better than the other, but it's just that the competitors in that part are actually better. Okay, that makes sense. So there's a pity point as well. The boys have a little bit stiffer competition. Okay, good luck with the boys basketball team and any other extracurriculars happening. Yes, Sadie.
The girls play tomorrow.
Okay, and where do they play? Okay, yeah, Bonneville yesterday. Okay, where do they play?
We play here against Stanford.
Against Stansbury? Isn't that Coach Bird's old stomping grounds, or was it Twilla?
No, she's from Twelve.
Twilla, alright. I love that Twilla is there, and like its neighbor, which sounds so much more posh, is like Stansbury Park, and it's like the exact same place. Does that make sense? It's like you're gonna have like Magna, and then like Grand View Luxury, or something like that. Like it's just a weird juxtaposition. Okay, so good luck with the girls team there, and the freshmen will be playing.
It should be.
Okay, awesome. Hope it goes well. Okay, we left off last time. If I remember correctly, we were on the topic of people, right? We got to oil and through oil, if I remember correctly. There were 4 total things that we write down about that one group.
2 things about oil.
We have 2 things. Okay, so as a reminder, Nigeria is renowned worldwide for having a lot of what? Oil. Okay, good. And they have a lot of people, right? We talked about like 200 million or so. I think Walker, you were saying big population. Could be even more, right? Because they don't have like solid, hardcore censuses that show where they're at. Okay, so you look at these numbers and then you think, well, man, these guys must be rich. The third thing, then you're going to write down, yet 60% of the people, there's a third thing underneath people and oil, yet 60% of the people live in poverty. 60% of the people live in poverty. Okay, now, I have to be clear here. When we're talking about poverty line, do you guys know what the poverty line is in the U.S.? Like, there's a yearly income, and I get it as a high school kid, you're like, I'd happily take $1,000, for whatever. What do you think is the poverty line here in the U.S.? Oh, I see, in terms of those who live under the poverty line. Yeah, well, actually, you're not too far off. Those who live in the US under the poverty line max out maybe at like 10-14%. You know, if we're in a really bad year, like in the Great Recession. So your idea, did you say 4%? Yeah, like it's not that far off. In fact, geez, a couple years ago, beginning of Trump's term, we were, around 5% in terms of below the poverty line. So my question though is, what's this line, right? So we know the line for Hyde Park and North Logan or whatever, right? But what's the line that it is in terms of yearly income? That's what we're looking at, Carson.
15,000.
So you say that the number in the U.S. yearly average income is $15,000. If you earn more than that, then you're okay.
Oh, no.
No, it's like
It's like 60.
56 or something like that.
Okay, so now I gotta be clear here. Not the average income, right? Because at the average income, you're gonna be looking at like $56,000 a year. Like that's in the valley. Let's look at it that way. Like an average income, not in the valley. In the country, average income's like $56,000. That's an accurate way to describe it. In the valley, it's a little bit lower because people willing to get paid less to live here. That's sort of how it is. So in the country that I'm looking at the average income line. That's what they set for a poverty line. This is the income that if you earn below this, then you are going to be in the poverty area and therefore get different government benefits and different help. And if you earn above that, then you don't qualify. So sometimes for FAFSA, you guys have heard of that, like I applied for FAFSA and I didn't get any help, right? That's because maybe your parent earns above that line. So with that said, this average line, if you will, not the average total of income. Any thoughts? So you say 15,000. Carson, I think that's what you were saying before.
No, I have no clue what
30?
you're talking about, so. Like, I'm so confused.
So there's a line.
It's like 30 or 25.
Destin, Tanner, hello. Do we have a hi? do we have a slip? Okay, like last time I won't need a slip, if that makes sense,
Okay.
right? Okay, trying to be flexible there. So Carson, I don't know, sorry if I'm not making sense here, but there's the average income of a country, right? But then there's a line, the government, and I gotta be clear here, the poverty line is not set by the UN for the whole world. Like if you earn less than $10,000 and you get help from the UN, no, it's set by country, by country, by country. So the US's poverty line, where they say if you earn less than this, you get government help, like welfare checks, potentially Social Security disability, unemployment benefits, all those things. What is that income line? How much do you have to earn? Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, so it's like, if you earn under that amount, then you're in poverty, but if you earn
Yep.
over it, then you're not.
Yeah, right. Because a lot of people say, well, they're in the poverty line. Well, it depends on country by country by country. The U.S. sets it rather high because we have a high standard of living compared to, say, Nigeria, right? So any thoughts as Walker's looking it up?
30?
Yeah, okay, so let's just sort of be generic here. I like that work there. That it's about $30,000 for the U.S. You don't need to know that, but I want you to compare it. So, Spencer, yes, $30,000. If you earn more than that, like you're not going to get as many benefits, and especially if you're single. Now, if you're married and if you have kids, then maybe that's going to be like a $45,000 or something. But single, $30,000 is pretty accurate. If you earn below that, Carson, then you qualify for federal benefit, right? Maybe subsidized help or whatever. $30,000 a year. At that amount, you can have an apartment with 4 walls and a roof, right? You can have a vehicle. You could have nice digital utilities
I told you.
and appliances. Was looking at numbers there.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much teachers made a year, and he said like 50 to 60,000. I was like, no way.
Yeah. So the average. I mean, once you put your time in, like it's different for the average. Yeah.
After 10 years it goes.
Yeah. But the average is lower. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Like nationwide, at least average. Yep. So you look at this poverty line that we're at like $30,000. If you earn more than that, you don't qualify for stuff. In Nigeria, in West Africa, their poverty line is $6,000 a year. 6,000. I'm sorry if I took it away. I'm sorry.
Living like huts.
Yes, right. So sorry, Spencer, if you knew that and I didn't give you the chance to say that. But that's $6,000. So you're talking about poverty line. That's true poverty. You are living in huts. You have huts full of chickens. Maybe you're sleeping with the chickens. Maybe you don't know, right? We saw pictures here Avery, of like Pooh River water, like going down, like it's pretty poor, right? Their poverty line is way lower than our poverty line. So 60% of their population lives there, in that poverty line.
$6,000, yeah.
$6,000. Think of that. And we're talking not just a single individual, we're talking about a family, a 3 to 5 member family. So, as you're looking at these numbers, for 5 points, if they have all this oil and all these workers, sometimes you have a country like Qatar which has oil, but doesn't have workers to make the money. If you have all these workers and you have all this oil, why do most of the people live in poverty?
That's a waste.
Gracie?
Does the government lose that taking it?
That's exactly it. And I like that Spencer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 said they're lazy. Because certain countries can get to that level where they don't have an incentive to work. Heck, Soviet Russia got to the point where there was very little incentive to work hard, right? So you can say, yeah, they're lazy. But for Nigeria, their leaders are so corrupt that they pocket the money for whatever, Snickers bars and jeans and stuff like that. And they don't give it to the people, right, Panther? Yeah. They don't give it to the people. So Gracie, you're right on that. That it is the corruption of their leaders. That's the disconnect. And that's the real tragedy of oil. And that leads to our fourth and final thing you're going to write down here. There is some space there for you under oil. And that is in the Niger River Delta. In the Niger River Delta. There is an armed militia group. Right? There's an armed militia group. There's an armed militia group, and militia is spelled like militia, right? M-I-L-I-T-I-A. Let me write that, Mac. You good? Okay. I'll write it just in case. There's an armed militia group. Okay, for another 5 points. Let's name this armed militia group. Not Boko Haram, right? Those guys are more up north and doing stuff about Islam and all that stuff. This group is more down south in the Niger River Delta, and in travel agent number 3, you probably, you don't have to, but it would be a very good idea to talk about them, because they are blowing up pipelines and kidnapping oil workers, all because they think they should get this land back. Does anybody know, for 5 points, the name of this group? It's an acronym. Gracie? That's not the one I'll give you a point, because that's not the more infamous one I'm thinking of. But Dylan?
Is it NDV?
Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of, but that's another one. Okay, first of all, Dylan and Grace are showing that there are many unrested or unrestful groups down south who are trying to get this land. Because you said, Dylan, say it one more time, the acronym again.
NDV?
NDB?
Niger Delta Vigilante. Well, that's
Oh yeah, no, no, not them. Last but not least, Connor.
UNICEF?
UNICEF is not a terrorist group. That's the
Oh.
United Nations. No. All right, let's think of the point. Because Connor, the reason I say I also give you a point is, I had a guy come who worked at the embassy in Lagos, Nigeria, right? Which then went to Abuja, Nigeria. Anyway, and he said that actually this group is called, even by the textbook, is called as like a terrorist group who's blowing stuff up. But our U.S. government says, actually, they're not that bad, because they're just trying to be like a Martin Luther King Jr. type protest, saying this land should belong to us and not to the oil companies. All right, so we got almost 5 points, I think, from good other guesses. The one we're looking for here is MEND, M-E-N-D. Okay, so in the Niger River Delta, there's an armed militia group called MEND, M-E-N-D. Which has blown up pipelines and kidnapped, okay, for some points, well, sorry, we know it's not going to be the girls, but they've kidnapped,
Oil workers.
there it is, yes. So they've blown up pipelines and kidnapped oil workers. Very good. And kidnapped oil workers. Yeah, Sadie?
Why are they doing this? Like, what made them want to go away?
Great question. I was like, we're just gonna blow crap up. No, okay, it's not based on religion, right? That's like Boko Haram, their extreme views. No, this is a different reason. That's a very good question. Why are they blowing up pipelines, kidnapping oil workers, doing maybe sit-ins where they go on these pipelines? And you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, imagine off of a coast, you see like oil drills, like these big old platforms. Heck, I think it was like the movie Armageddon from back in the day. Like, you see that type of imagery. Why are they doing all this violence on those areas, Carson?
Aren't they fighting over the land?
Yeah, they Sadie are getting so desperate because they believe that back to Gracie's point, just employ us. Like, fine, take our land, but at least give us jobs, right? Let us work for you, ExxonMobil, British Petroleum, Texaco. Let us work for you on the oil drills, and we can earn money. But the government leaders will just pocket the money and they won't employ the local people. And B, they will the government leaders will say, hey, ExxonMobil, only hire the people who support our party. And so they're like, well, screw this. We want jobs. We want to make a living. And so they're upset because they took the land, which probably belonged to them, and also they're not getting employed, and also bribes are happening to employ other people who probably don't deserve it. Does that make sense? They're trying to make a difference. In fact, we see that nonviolent protests work better. The kidnapping of oil workers has not worked, but a bunch of Ijaw tribeswomen, and some of you may write about this in your travel agent numbers or your paper, Ijaw tribeswomen actually did a sit-in. A bunch of old women who were in this like local tribe sat in on the oil well, and so you have like, I think it was Chevron. I think it was Chevron. No, Texaco. It was Texaco. Or was it Shell? Anyway, one of those big companies. They were sitting in on the oil platform, and so these workers come and they're like, it was Texaco, and they're like, we need to get by, and they can't even step over because these old ladies are just sitting there like knitting, like, excuse us, we're just here. Why are you here? Give our sons jobs. And it worked. Texaco's like, all right. After a couple days, they're like, we gotta like work here and we can't, so we're gonna give your kids jobs. And it worked, right? So that's why they want the land, they want the money, they're upset that bribes were happening for other people. Does that answer your question of like why they're fighting? But they're upset about that. Just for a chance to work, which shows maybe violence isn't good, but at least Spencer, they're not lazy, right? Like they want, which is a problem. Sometimes you find a country like they're just not gonna work. Like, I don't know for Ethiopia, for example, I don't know. They have opportunities, but maybe they wouldn't. But Nigeria, they just don't have them yet. Okay, good. Under Islam, so this is your second subsection, right? We have a total of, let's see. We have a total of three total things we're gonna write down here.
Islam and stats.
So sorry, under Islam, right, if I didn't make that clear, under Islam there's gonna be three things we're gonna write down. Okay, so, the first one is, there is a Sharia police.
How do you spell that?
Good question. There is a Sharia police. It's spelled a couple different ways, but this is the one that the book uses probably most frequently, so we will as well. There is a Sharia police called, we're going to get to what Sharia is in a second. We've already mentioned a little bit about it. But there are 5 more points from the text. It talks about this. Up in the northern part of Nigeria, there is this secret group, this secret police that goes through and is the judge, jury, and executioner. And Goodluck Jonathan did not like it. The government does not support it, but it sort of still exists. Does anybody know the name of it? Walker?
The Hisbah part?
Hisbah, yes, very good. So there's a secret Sharia police called Hisbah. All right? And sort of like it sounds. Hisbah. Okay, there's a secret Sharia police called Hisbah. Keep writing here. They search the streets. They search the streets for violators of this strict, they search the streets for violators of this strict dress and dietary code. They search the streets for violators of this strict dress and dietary code. Okay, let's go back to the term Sharia. I think a lot of you are like, oh, what is Sharia again? For a couple points, we mentioned this a little bit yesterday. Remember the shells of like the layers of Islam, right? We talked about that. So Selena or anybody else, we know the main part of Islam is peaceful, right? The 5 pillars of Islam and 10 is very peaceful, 80% or so. There's about 10 to 15% of the Islamic world that follows Sharia, namely northern Nigeria. I mean, there are pockets in North Africa, but they're not population centers. So northern Nigeria, Iran, parts of Saudi Arabia follow Sharia. What is Sharia again? Any thoughts on that, Tim?
Isn't it the belief that sin needs to be destroyed or something like that?
Oh, we're getting more. So the most outer layer, which is unfortunately and ironically the one we see, is the sin being a jihad, right? Like that's that 5% that are extremists. There's this other Sharia thing. Adele, you had your hand up.
Wasn't it like the eye for an eye thing?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Wasn't it like the eye for an eye thing? Like if you steal and get your hand cut off?
Okay, so that is part of it. Yes, that that in these parts, if you're caught stealing, especially if you're female, but males are also held accountable, that you will have your clean hand cut off. All right, which means in many of these cultures you'll have your clean and unclean hand for doing personal business and also just like shaking hands, right? So if you have your clean hand cut off, that means you are then cast out basically because you can't work within society, you can't sell goods and stuff. So yes, those are strict penalties of it. Any other thoughts, Dexter?
Are they the ones that like blame the woman for the fall?
There it is. There it is. Yep. So we are looking for the idea of Sharia is a strict dietary and dress code that is enforced, yes, Adele, for everybody, right? But it really hits hard on women because they are seen as half of a man. This is the code that says that Sadie, women are only half of a man, taken from the weird interpretation of Adam and Eve, and they go really strict with it. Women are not allowed to drive. Women are not allowed to go unaccompanied. If you go to the market unaccompanied, the punishment is death, that you need to be bled out in the square for all to see because she is being a prostitute and prostituting herself out. If you are a female and caught after sundown on the porch, Tanner, that means that either your father, your older brother, or your uncle has to start a stoning process. Not the fun stoning, the bad stoning, where they take a huge, some of you got that, but they take a huge boulder, okay, and they crush the woman's hips. And then it is the duty and responsibility of every male in the community to then stone the person to death, because she needs to be made an example for everybody else to see that women need to be controlled. They're vile temptresses who, left unchecked, will destroy your society. Sharia. I mean, Thomas, when you really hear it, it's like, this is crazy. Maybe not to the point of like, we're gonna go and invade another country crazy, which is more crazy, I suppose, like jihad. But within your own country, if you're a female, it's horrible in northern Nigeria. Carson.
When you're saying like the females can't go to the market or whatever, unaccompanied, can they go with another female or does it have to be?
No, they can't go another female. They have to be accompanied because the only thing worse than a female is 2 females together. I mean, because then they start talking with it, and they get ideas, and they start having independent thought and critical thinking, and who wants that? You can't trust them. Obviously, I'm saying that facetiously. You guys get what I'm saying here. But no, it has to be with a male. It has to be. Custody rights are extremely against the woman, meaning in a divorce or custody battle, all of the children parental rights will go to the husband and not to the woman. She'll be left destitute, nothing. Rape issues, okay? In a court of law, you have to have 2 testimonies to go against the one of the guy. Adultery issues.
Sorry, we had a hand up over here.
Why do they want the women to do that? Like, didn't
Okay, so this is the interesting thing. You could make a comparison, I like that, of like, hey, Western culture has evolved, right? Where women wouldn't really go to school, maybe they'd be more at home doing housework, right? And I think there is some truth to that. But the difference is Sharia followers tie it to religious code. Because of Eve's mistakes, all women are known as temptresses, so we must control them. Do you see how it's like even more severe? In fact, when we get to Iran, we'll show an issue. Previous to 1979, they did not follow Sharia. All right, I'll just show you the picture right now. I just want you guys to see this. So this is northern Nigeria currently, but this is Iran, just to give you an idea of how that is. Let's go to okay. All right. So, Iran, 1970. Okay, you have women who are wearing this, a little bit more normal Western attire here. Okay, right? There you go. Mind you, they're not with men. And then in 2009, this is what a women's school looks like. Notice, they're younger over here. They only let girls go in Iran to school from kindergarten through 6th grade equivalent. That's it. Because women should not be given information. Because if they're given information, they will destroy your society. So you can see here, Avery, it's even more extreme than, go make me a sandwich sexism, right? Like that's different. This is, you are punished, and you are half of a person. You are made of a rib of man, therefore you are less than man. Do you see that extreme idea? The idea, if you were to go to Baga, Nigeria, which is in northern Nigeria, and if we were to have like a Zoom conference call right now showing females without a burqa on. What's a burqa? A burqa is like the ninja suit, if you will, right? Where women's head from toe completely covered. If we were to show video and have like a nice conference call with a school in northern Nigeria and to show women in a high school, that would be like unheard of. B, women without actually having a head covering. C, men and women studying side by side. What? That would be unbelievable to them, right? So it shows if there is some incredulity of like, I can't believe this, that's understandable. Eden?
Why aren't we like doing anything about this? Like, are we?
This is the PhD level question, right? Mac has mentioned this before. Giselle has mentioned this. I keep coming back to it. These are those questions I want you to be asking. I can't in this trimester ensure that you have all the answers. But if I gotta have you start asking the right questions, then we're getting somewhere. The question, Eden, of why aren't we, right, doing something about this? It's complicated. Can you export democracy? Can you put a nice little box, a little bow in it, say Merry Christmas? Oh, you don't really do Christmas, huh? Well, we don't do Hanukkah. Happy holidays, like, can you do that? Historically, we've seen you can't do it because the people aren't ready for it, they're not going to take it. Should we invade an area, right? Like, there's these questions of, so what could we do? Could we get the UNICEF involved, which is the UN body, to go and help like them understand that women's education is good, and if you have educated women, that means you have more workers. And it's also shown in studies that if you have educated women in the workplace, that means you'll have more ingenuity and creativity and have better products. If you were to show those things, maybe you could get some headway, but that means international involvement. And so it's probably hard because people don't want to get involved with other people's affairs. But also maybe it's because it's so rare. Does that make sense? In the world of Islam, is this the norm? In the world of Islam, no, Spencer, it isn't. I know our instinct. I know Selena and Dylan, like, yeah. In the world of northern Nigeria, this is the norm, right? And you get what I'm saying here? But most of the world of Islam is more, in fact, when you guys go to Utah State, they have a ton of students who come from Saudi Arabia and Jordan who are there. You'll see headscarves. That's normal. Out of reverence of God, cool. You don't see them in burqas, right? This isn't normal, thankfully. And so you don't see it a whole lot. And so I think that's the reason why it's not like, this is crazy. If the whole Islamic world were this way, you'd see a second Crusades. going on, right? That's a really good question. But then are there things can we do to help like incentivize them to go from this, rarely do I say back in time, but like, so then in Iran you'll see what happened here. We'll get to that. Something happened. It's complicated, but it's so rare that maybe we just don't think about it. It's probably why, right? Yeah, Sadie?
So like, is the rest of Nigeria, so you said it's only northern Nigeria?
Yep.
So like, what's the rest of Nigeria doing? Like, just half of it normal?
Right. So I know normal is that relative question, right? Like, what is normal? So the answer to that is yes. Southern Nigeria is more traditional, Western, if that makes sense, because they're Christian, right? And they're used to. They have schools where men and women go traditionally to schools together, and women don't have like mandatory religious head coverings or whatever. So Southern Nigeria is like, ugh, Northern Nigeria. They give him freedom to do that. Hint, hint on the test. That's an example of democracy. Yay, you can like have religious freedom. But it also is an example of anti-democracy because Sharia. So you're right, Sadie, to think like, what does Southern Nigeria think about this? It's like the really weird uncle relationship. You know, it's like, hey, you're family, but you're really weird, Northern Nigeria.
Why wouldn't they just like go to South Nigeria?
Say it one more time.
Like, why wouldn't they just go to South Nigeria? Like, they're having this like all the time there, but it's like in the same.
Okay. So this is a good question. I'm gonna get to Ashton here. I promise you. I haven't forgotten you. There's been a couple of movies made about this where one of the thoughts is women. You would think, why not just leave? Just leave the situation, right? Go to Southern Nigeria. Go to Ghana, which doesn't have it as bad. Go to the U.S. even. You were assuming that you, as a female, have freedom of mobility. In Sharia, and I know that's what Tessa's laughing at right now, is those women don't get to move around, right? Or whatever you guys are looking at. Women in Sharia involved countries don't have the freedom of mobility. You are watched at all times. You are escorted in public places to the restroom. You have basically your guards being your uncle, your brother, any male within the family who are waiting outside the bathroom for you. So the idea of you fleeing or running is very, very rare, very hard to do. And also, even if you have the opportunity, if you're married and have kids, and there have been instances where they have taken the kids to the U.S., right? They're like, oh, we're free. Nope. We will respect Nigeria's extradition laws, and those children will be extradited and sent back to their home country to be with their father. It's the idea of like, well, I'll just run it. There's not mobility, and the laws will make that female lose everything, mainly her children, right? So it's easier said than done. Do women flee those situations? Yeah, they do, but you've got to find the opportunity. It's like running from like a concentration camp in a way, right? Does that make sense? It's like why you don't see it more. But it is. It's a weird juxtaposition. Because do women run for public office up north? Rarely, if ever, Selena. I mean, barely. So every once in a while you go to the Capitol, which is in the north, and if you're a woman and you're like, I think we should make laws, and all the other men are like, what? It's mind-blowing. It's a weird relationship between the two. So I hope that answers part of your question. Why don't they just leave or what have you, right? Yes, Ashton.
So about like us fixing their problems, like since it isn't our country, wouldn't they just like not care?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing of exporting democracy. Even in like Afghanistan, like, yay, we went there and we saved you in the war in Afghanistan, right? It didn't resonate well because you were seen, meaning U.S. military troops, as outsiders, right? Have you guys ever, have you ever had your parents do something nice for you? I sincerely hope all of you have had like your parents do something nice for you, other than Walker, I know, but what? But like obviously, I think you've all been there. As he points to his scar, I'm like, wait a second, what's happening here? Oh no, the plot thickens. But no, like you guys have all had like your parents do something nice for you. So like, I'm not gonna point to anything. But you've had like parents do nice things for you. But especially as a teenager, like you don't want that help. Have there been times that way where like, just shut up, Dad? No, don't solve my problems. Just drive me to school. Well, honey, I'm just shut it. Right? You have that relationship? Internationally, it's very similar. It's like, hey, you got a problem in northern Nigeria, right? Say that we got to go in and maybe get some education, show that women actually are good for the workplace. And you're right, Ashton. They're just like, you might be right, but I don't like you. I'm not going to listen. Hello, teenagehood, right? Like, does that make sense? Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, so Sharia is rough, and there is this Hizbah police. So, Carson, this group here is allowed to have, and the government doesn't like it. So, Sadie, back, what does Southern Nigeria do about it? Southern Nigeria doesn't like this. In fact, the second thing you'll write down in this section is recently the national government, right? So recently, the national government has placed a ban on the Hizbah. Recently, the national government has put a ban on the Hizbah. Yes, Carson.
So you know how you're saying like if they came to the U.S. we'd ship their kids back?
Usually.
Is there countries where they could go that they wouldn't do that?
You'd have to go to. Oh, probably not. For Nigeria, for Iran, and for Saudi Arabia, those three countries where Sharia is in some way or another, probably not, because we want oil. I know that sounds really harsh, but Spencer, you get what I'm saying there? It's like, if we tick off that home country and say, no, you're just being naughty and these kids need to be safe with their mother. If you do that, then you risk the idea of trade negotiations for oil, right? So probably not. And every country basically in the world needs oil. So there might be, maybe Panama, where like you could go there. Yeah, and like not have your kid taken away. Now there are cases where the U.S. has said, no, we're not going to send it back, but we'll probably honor the extradition rights. We probably will. Yeah, good. Adele?
So, when a woman and a man get married, is that like an arranged marriage?
Yes. Now, Southern Nigeria, no, like, again, Southern Nigeria has actually something called Nollywood, which is Nigerian Hollywood. They have like their own really ghetto versions of all the movies, and it's really funny. Like you can look up, like, on your phones, look up Ghana Spider-Man. It's amazing. It's amazing, like how ghetto it looks. So the idea is Southern Nigeria and most of West Africa is very normal, where it's not arranged marriages, right? It's traditional Western culture. I'm going to date some people. I'm going to move around. Okay, Spencer found it. But Northern Nigeria, again, this pocket, back to what I think Eden was saying, is why don't we do anything about it? It's so rare that arranged marriages happen absolutely up north. And you'll be married when you're 13, 14. Because at the time of puberty, you are then handed off to your new husband. Or rather, the new male figure in your life, right? So yeah, but down south, no, it's like normal dating and all that. They have Nollywood. Heck, you just saw Ghana Spider-Man. How impressive that is. Like it is. It's just traditional, whatever we're gonna do. Sadie's like, my new mission in life is to become a Nollywood star. To be in the Nollywood version of. Okay. All right. So we've got that. The national government has said, hey, Hizbah, this is bad, because Nolan, this becomes a judge, jury, and executioner. Where in northern Nigeria, the government says you can't do it. So the Hizbah is like secretively like hiding in trash cans, and they're like, I'm not joking. And like, there she is. She's unaccompanied. She's going to market. They grab her, take her to an alleyway, and they do a judge, jury, executioner thing right there, in which they kill her because they have violated Sharia. And there's also the dietary thing that you can't eat pork, but you know that's not as big as the whole female thing. So that's they have placed a ban on it. Let's do one more thing, and then I know it's late, but we'll still take a break. Can you guys think of anything good, Dax and anybody, of Sharia? Very strict dress and dietary code, meaning women are sub-citizens. They don't invade other people, yes, but is there any positive of of this strict code. Yeah, Dexter?
We're not killing as many pigs.
Okay, so, alright. Yeah, you're not consuming as much pork, that's totally right, cause it's sort of like kosher food, like halal food, right? Yeah, that's true, you're not eating as much pork, Spencer?
Discipline.
Discipline, ooh, I wanna go down this road, yeah. So we think of like discipline, right? So you have a regiment, it's very orderly. You're on to something here. 4 more points. As Carson and Tess are looking up right now. 4 more points. It's discipline, but there's something. I have to be balanced, sort of. There is one redeeming factor, Sharia up north in Nigeria. Where do you think that picture of Pooh River was taken? You guys remember the picture I'm talking about, right? Right, where like they're sitting out in either. Where do you think that's taken? Northern or southern Nigeria? Southern. Why would you say that? Say it one more time.
I'm thinking of a different picture.
But you guys know the one I'm talking about, like they're eating. Mac is, maybe Sadie missed it. Tyler says yes, you remember. But they're out there eating, right? And like just plastic chairs, and like the septic system is overflowed because of monsoon season, and all the water around them is just basically septic water.
Yeah, and one guy who's like reaching.
Yeah, his hands out there like, right? He's doing that. That's taken in southern Nigeria. How do we know that's, you're right, how do we know that's southern Nigeria? Alan? Oh, that's some good connection. I didn't think of that. Yeah, if you have people blowing up pipelines of oil, then maybe that's also messing up with septic systems. I like that thinking. That's not what I'm thinking of, but I like the deductive thinking. Here's the idea. Up north, and this is the third thing you'll write down, Sharia's laws on cleanliness. Sharia's laws on cleanliness. Sharia's laws on cleanliness have helped start sanitation and recycling programs. Have what? Sharia's laws on cleanliness have helped start sanitation and recycling programs. Have helped start sanitation and recycling programs. Tanner, you got that down?
Yeah, I know.
Where are your notes, brother? Get out your notes. So, have helped start sanitation and recycling programs. So, Carson, on one angle, like they're bad, they kill women because they are just women, but on the other hand, they're very clean about it. I mean, like, I know it sounds harsh, but I'm trying to, there's very little redeeming, but they are, you're talking about discipline, right? The streets are cleaner. I mean, you don't have as much infrastructure, but it's cleaner up north, right? And you don't have Pooh River stuff, septic things, Alan, you don't have as many pipelines blown up and all that stuff, right? Yes, Carson.
Does the Bible, like, the parish group, do they believe in Sharia too, or do they not?
Does the what, sorry?
The, like, parish part of the
Yes,
they believe in Sharia?
and they believe in the Sharia thing, but also in that outer layer of like, we're gonna take our sin outwardly and destroy people. Yes, absolutely, yeah. Usually if you find like Al-Qaeda or Taliban or whatever, they're gonna do, they're also gonna do Sharia stuff too. Yeah, that's a good question, Okay, good stuff. Let's, we'll leave off for there. So the idea is Monday we'll do stats, right? Tanner, you're looking at that section, and then Tuesday we'll do like current events and stuff. Okay? Then we'll have our lovely assignment due next Wednesday. So let me show you a clip. I do have one for you. You can, in our last 5 minutes, go get a drink of water if you need to. Use the restroom if you need to.
Don't skip third hour or anything.